Hello and welcome to the next episode of the Initiated Man podcast. Today I have the honor of interviewing my buddy Kyle Mitri, and Kyle is is Kyle is a men's coach focusing on men's empowerment, men's sexuality, and so much more. And someone who I consider a friend, a guide, and someone who I can lean on in the community. And I'm really happy to have you here today and do this conversation. So welcome.
Thank you, brother. I am absolutely stoked, happy, and in full gratitude to be doing this on my porch with you, where we've sat many times.
Many times. Yeah. We should record it more often.
Like legit.
Yeah.
Like morning coffee.
Yeah.
And just like chats.
Yeah. Okay, want to do a honey breath?
Let's do it, baby.
Okay. Thank you.
Always. Should we do it with the crew as well?
Yeah.
Just bringing.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
It's always fun when Kyle and I get together because we both have a nice, humorous personalities. So I feel like we bring out the humor in each of us, which is fun. We play back and forth, which I feel like it's such a good quality. You know, I'm just focusing on you that you have is like your ability to bring joy into the spaces that you occupy. And so just honoring that, and it's medicine. It's like really medicine. So thank you.
My pleasure.
Yeah. So the first question I want to ask you is, what do you love about men?
Okay. I would say one of the deepest parts that I love about men, which is something I love about myself, obviously, is there's always the little boy who wants to play. There's always that little child who wants to laugh and cry and play around and listen to loud things and like essentially fuck shit up for no reason, have competition
Yeah.
for no reason,
Yeah.
or just like go in between like random conversation and can keep going, repetitively forever.
Yeah.
And I still have so many of those, that's where it's like, Brosephine Chihuahua. And I can keep going with friends like that for fucking hours.
Yeah.
And it's that level of playfulness that I can see in all men. And it's like an activator. It's permission to let the little child and little boy come out and play. And so I'd say that's the predominant thing I love about men.
Yeah, just like our playfulness. The last conversation I had with Stephanie, she was talking a lot about she loves the innocence of men, and I feel like this is kind of very similar. Like we all are, really innocent. We love to play, we love to laugh, and that's part of the medicine that we bring to this world.
Yeah.
As the masculine, we are the sun, we are the light. The feminine is like the dark underworld, and and we balance each other.
Totally. but so also the mischievous little shit.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
for sure.
And I think that gets missed sometimes with the innocence part. You know, yes, we're innocent, but little boys want to also like tip the glass over
Yeah,
and push things to the edge.
yeah,
You know,
yeah.
and
Like what? What's an example?
like I will always try to create a situation where I might, instead of it being easy, I might have a little bit, you know, create more resistance around it.
Yeah,
If someone has something, I will kind of like to poke it,
yeah,
you know, just to see how far I can get with it, to see their response,
yeah.
you know, and I just like to poke it, but I poke it in like a fun way that you can't really get angry at, you
Mm,
know.
yeah,
But I'm always in this way of like, let's try poking, let's try like push it a little bit, and
yeah,
like let's fuck with it. And I'm not apologetic at all with that,
yeah,
you know. I'm gonna poke
yeah,
because I like it,
yeah.
because I like to like edge people in certain ways,
Mm,
and so it brings out the fun playfulness, and
mm,
sometimes it takes a little bit of like a poke,
mm-hmm.
you know. Hey, just remember you're a kid and
Yeah,
we can fuck around,
yeah,
you know. And sometimes people need a little reminder,
yeah,
so that's what I love to do,
yeah,
you know. Mischievous motherfucker.
yeah. Beautiful. So I wanted to take a moment before we get into the other stuff. We had a dear friend in the community pass on,
Mm-hmm.
and
Yeah.
Daryl Vinzier, and I wanted to just take a moment to honor him because you knew him, I knew him. He was on the podcast 2 episodes ago, a few days before he passed. And if you're watching this and you haven't seen that episode, do yourself a favor and go back and watch that episode because it's such medicine hearing what this man brought to this world.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, is there anything that you would like to say about Daryl to honor him in this brief moment?
For sure. Um, you know, a funny story comes to mind. Daryl and I were neighbors for a year or so,
Uh-huh.
um, and I always liked Daryl. You know,
Yeah,
he's an artist, a spiritual man, like an old Buddhist monk,
yeah,
like who's done a lot of the work. Very feminine, flowy, beautiful man. And I remember he was building his house next door, and then I threw a party till like 5 a.m. the next day, and he came, was like, bro, that's like disrespectful type of thing. We're like right here, workers here, and so him and I went at it for a little bit, you know, just of like that. I want my side to be heard, you
mm-hmm.
know, and so we had a bit of like a, you know, confrontation, but over time, coming back and be like laughing a bit at that space,
Mm.
you know, and going, okay, we're just men doing a little bit of like stupid shit, and like it's your fault, it's my fault, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And we just kept on having like really nice rapport,
Mm.
you know, because I know his daughter as well, and you know I got to know him pretty deeply as well, and just like I love how he approached life, a
Yeah.
very like monk like wise man,
Yeah.
you know. And what I would always do is just to add another little story. You know, I saw him and his daughter working out at the gym quite a few times, and it just reminded me of like, wow, I wish I kind of did that with my father. You know,
Mm.
went to the gym, and you know, and had that time together in this beautiful place that we call home. And so a lot of that was like the nourishment of like watching him spend time, like real time with his daughter.
Yeah.
And yeah, it just made me, yeah, kind of have some reverence for that, and some super just deep gratitude for, you know, a loving father who really just cares, you know.
Yeah.
And so it was beautiful to just witness him and how he moves and shakes in this place. And now he's going to take some of that beautiful love to the next place. And, you know, we'll meet him at some point.
Uh-huh.
I hope.
Yeah. Daryl was a wisdom keeper.
Yeah.
For sure. I worked with him as a mentor, or he mentored me rather. And yeah, I really had him as like a, a father figure
Yeah.
to me, really. Just being held by that really divine masculine archetype, um, by an elder,
Mm-hmm.
by someone who's been there, done that, seen it all,
Yeah.
and come out on the other side as like this beautiful human being. So I feel really lucky to have been in his presence for as much as I have. And yeah, I'm gonna miss Daryl. So thank you, Daryl. We love you wherever you are, honoring you. Thank you so much. Shit.
Ashe.
So that brings me into my next point. You touched on your father
Mm-hmm.
a little bit, and I know that you've spoken about your father and your relationship with him, and I just want to know, like, I know that he passed. I know that that was very challenging for you and an initiation of sorts,
Mm-hmm.
and but I don't really know about what he was like,
Mm-hmm.
how your upbringing was, and you know, can you talk a little bit about?
Yeah.
Do you
I would
want
love to.
to?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
yeah,
You know, a large part of this initiation, part of me was like, cool, maybe I'll get to this place where I get to really share about my experience with my father and what it meant, and I've chosen not to share at the moment until I feel like really sharing authentically. Not from this coach's perspective of like, this is a transition and blah blah blah,
yeah.
and like, it's my story.
Mm,
I want to move through it in the way I want to move through it,
mm,
and I'll choose to share it when I feel it's right. The process, it was, it's still such a process. The grief of losing a father, especially a father that I looked up to so much.
mm,
And so I'll give you some brief context. Lebanese man, son of five boys, or sorry, a brother of five boys, um, and just an amazing, wild man. All of them were like just crazy, wild Lebanese boys, had a lot of money, lost a lot of money, dated everyone, had all the cars. Every single one of the brothers did that. And then eventually, at some point, because they lost their father early when they were like 19,
mm,
or he was 19. And so I think there was, some things that was his programming where, they always made a lot and then lost a lot. And so all of them kind of lost most of their wealth towards the later part of the years and then kind of passed away, on a kind of a slow, gradual depression.
mm,
And then, died of cancer or died of something. And so my father kind of died of, I'd say, heart complications, but more just, I'd say, like, he was just done, you know?
yeah.
And so he, 10 years back, he lost all of his money in a deal and just everything he worked for and all the things.
Mm,
And I just watched someone who I revere so much, who's this crazy, charismatic, amazing man who's just like, if I can light up a room like this, get to know anyone like this. He spoke Fani Galore, which is a mixture of South African languages. And so this was like a man, I was just like, holy shit, my father's fucking amazing. He's hilarious, incredible, funny, was a little bit shady with business here and there, but, we all are a little bit. Um, but he was just a very unique fucking guy.
mm,
But he also understand there was a deeper power. He had a deep spiritual side that he didn't necessarily like show,
mm,
but he was always in reverence of learning. And he would go to a synagogue so he could learn their ways. He would go to church so he could, understand what they're trying to say. And it was always a space of like, I think he just had this natural deep seed spirituality that was there. The way he would teach me about plants and this is how you can, cut plants so they grow in a certain way, and this is how you nurture and love. And he would always hold leaves, and when it was good about to rain, he'd be like so excited, and he had such a green thumb as well, and so very integrated into nature in such a beautiful way. And so I got to really learn through him, really appreciating the little things, the beauty of how trees can move and how everything blossoms. And used to go with him every Saturday. He would, I'd tinker on engines with him, and he would teach me how engines work. He'd be like Schmed. He called me Schmed, as in Schmied from Captain Hook. He used to call me Schmedley. He's like, Schmed, come join me in the garage. We're gonna learn about. I'm gonna teach you how an engine works. And then we would go and get like a whole bunch of horse manure and plants and bird seed, because he loved having birds everywhere. And so, a very unique, interesting, wild man with crazy stories, And so watching my father, who I fucking, revere in such an amazing way, just go down like this, I realized later after he passed is I didn't know how to meet him where he was. He was just this little boy who was scared shitless, feared of death, aging, depressed clinically, all the ways. He would often just like do this, and just seeing that anxiety and fear and like torment of what he did to get where he is. And so there was a lot of anger I had towards him. There was a lot of resentment that I had to work through. And then also just the second side of that was I didn't know how to meet him. With all the work I've done, I just didn't know how to meet my father.
Yeah.
Because it was so close. And I would see him and be like, fuck it, Dad, we're going to do this. Fuck this shit. Like, I'm going to get you up top. We're going to eat this, do da, 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 da. That's the only way I knew how to like reach him, as this like motivator, because I didn't know how to just like meet him as this like super sad, hurt child that just needed me to be like, I'm here with you, Dad. Like, let's watch a movie and I love you. I'm here. I'm not trying to fix you. I'm just trying to be here with you in this moment. And so that came up a lot, is just the fear of not being able to call him all the time, because I just didn't know how to feel around him. Feel that sadness, that it made me so sad and so angry that he would make those decisions that led him to this, that led me to feel just so sad. And so now I'm in a space where it's like I'm so grateful for him in all the ways, and I feel like it's a constant work around and work through. This grief process is extremely deep. I lost in the same year like one aunt, two uncles, godfather, like 5 other people, and it was like, cool, that's life. And then Dad died, and I'm like, oh my God, well, like half of me is gone.
Yeah. And
so the depth of that was just something so unique, and I just didn't know how to like be, and I never dealt with such grief in my life. And so that was that natural just initiation into manhood, and I'm now the father of my life. And I counsel myself amongst my mentors and peers. And so that was like an individual like initiation for me, huge, huge, huge. And as often as I can, I tell people whose fathers are still alive, spend time with your father. He comes with a whole fucking whack of issues. 100%. Meet him where he is.
Yeah.
And do conversations with I love you. And get to know his story. Record his story.
Yeah.
Put a fucking phone up. There's this thing where it's like you can hear your father's story and then you can write it out. But like, I'll just put up a video and say, hey Dad, like, let's start from scratch. All the cool stories, life, how you got to where you are. Like, I just want to hear it so I can give to my kids. And I could always like go back and like be, fuck, that was great.
Yeah.
And that's one thing I wish I did with him. But again, I was running away as much as I could from just that pain. So that was a deep, deep, and is still very deep, and I have my dad's ashes. I have his Bible next to me. I have a lot of reverence for sacred things that he also did as well. And so, yeah, he remains close to me always, and I'm excited to meet him again.
Mm.
You know, very when the time comes. But yeah.
Oh. What is and thank you for sharing all of that so much. And what is the biggest gift that you received from your father?
Presence.
Presence.
Yeah, especially when he was in nature. He was a very present man.
That's a beautiful gift.
Very present man.
It's
When
a gift to your son.
Yeah, totally. Just come look at this, Schmidt. Come look at this. How beautiful is this? Pay attention.
Yeah.
You know, super powerful.
Yeah.
And I'll add another one. His charisma. I feel like I've got from him to like walk into a room and be like, this is my room.
Mm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I fucking love it.
Yeah.
And that's something I definitely attribute to him a lot. It's just that energy of just, oh, life is fucking beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah. And come up with a smile, and so there's a lot of deep reverence for that as well. Yeah.
Beautiful. What's his name?
Mitri.
Mitri.
Same as my surname, Mitri.
Mitri.
Yeah, Lebanese tradition.
Okay. Thank you, Mitri.
Oh, Father.
Thank you for sharing all that.
Yeah.
It's good to get to know a little bit more about your relationship with your father.
Yeah. Thank you, brother.
And about your father and how it has shaped you, not just his passing, but just who he was as a man and as a father. And it sounds like he's given you a lot of gifts, many gifts. I feel it. I see it on you. So I wanted to ask you, have you ever been in love?
Yes.
Yes.
I have. I'd say I've been in love. My version of what I feel love could be, probably twice.
Mm-hmm.
And with two women, the first was Gabriela. And it was this, my heart was, I was living here a while, and my heart was just like, oh my God, who is this creature? The most beautiful thing I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah.
And I was just like a fucking panther, like curious of like, what is this thing? Like, she's majestic.
Yeah.
And it was just super beautiful, like to just witness. It was like immediate, like she is mine. And like this beautiful, like, I get it, like this person's mine and I'm hers, and so it was a very beautiful moment of just dated for a few years, very, very beautiful, but very triggering, very traumatizing in many ways. But also like just count the very beautiful moments that we had. And I would say like that was my first, and then there was another girl. It was a shorter relationship, but it's like I just saw. It's like I just saw a family with her immediately. It was like no doubt in my mind. I was like, let's just go, let's do this.
Yeah.
Like it just feels so easy and so beautiful and so good. And so just at different phases in our life, but yeah, I feel like that was another woman that I just had such deep love for, that has transitioned to like I just love her now and adore her. I make a joke of I'll either be at her wedding or we'll be getting married together type of thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so yeah, I'd say with a confidence, probably twice.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And how do you feel about love right now? And
so right now, brother, there's I've always been I'm a lover by nature.
Yeah.
And I love life and love everyone. And And recently I've definitely been calling in my woman and my woman of partnership and family. And so not just someone, this is someone to create and build with.
Yeah.
And the more I get into this without trying to be attached to find this woman.
Yeah.
Because I go through periods of like, cool, I'm letting go.
Yeah.
She'll come when she comes.
Totally.
I'm building, and
Yeah.
when she comes in, I'm stoked. To moments of like, okay, fuck, like, where is this woman? like, universe, dude, I've been doing this for a while. Come on.
Yeah.
And so I've noticed myself go through those kind of like gestation of like,
Yeah.
is she coming? Like, what's going on here, bro?
Yeah. Yeah.
And again, just trusting the process.
Mm-hmm.
And what I've been learning more than ever is like, oh, I gotta like become that love that pulls her in. And so I have my own work I've been doing. So getting back to a new version of self-care and self-love and kind of integrating my mother more.
Interesting.
How do I look after myself? How do I take care of myself? How do I decorate my place? Do I really love myself enough to like go in and do a little bit of like wound cleaning, you know? And so that has been teaching me really like to go through so many things of like, okay, cool, I'm prepping. I'm realizing it's not just you call the person in.
Yeah.
You start calling the person in, then you start doing the work naturally. And so I've just been building and prepping myself, my emotions, you know, what I'm really looking for, what feels really aligned to me. Like, I'm not just calling in a girlfriend here. And so I can feel her. There's a big, I'm very like sacral driven. I can almost feel this woman.
Yeah.
This magical human who I can't wait to meet. So it's like, it's there almost. And so I'm just, again, telling myself to trust the process. So very much in for deep love and very much into the process of trusting again and surrendering again.
Beautiful. Yeah, it's such a beautiful process to be surrendered to and patient and really like cleaning house and looking at your wounds and preparing by loving yourself. It's like such a, I would say, a mature masculine thing to do, to be calling in this divine union. You know, it's beautiful. So I wanted to ask you, back on your men's work, you work with men, you work with women too, but it feels like men is kind of like your main passion and drive. Is that true? Yeah.
For right now, for sure.
For right now.
Yeah.
And so what got you started on that? Like, what inspired you, you know, in your own life maybe? And what were the early years? You know, did you go to some retreat and you were like, oh, this is, or work with somebody? Like, what was your journey like?
Well, it was interesting, man. You know, I arrived in Costa Rica 13 years ago. You know, where I grew up in Johannesburg, South Africa, there's no spirituality, there's no men's work, there's nothing of the kind, unless you're like really, really, really knew about it. And I came here and obviously had this beautiful spiritual awakening of like, everything's love and energy and frequency. And one of my closest brothers, Hawk, was like, okay, I've been there, brother. I'm going to give you some books. I'm going to teach you breath work. I'm going to like give you some awareness of what's going on. Because I was just like, Mom, it's all love.
How did you just come to Costa Rica and that happened? Or was there like a medicine ceremony or like what?
So I'll give you the base. So, you know, I was very suicidal for the majority of my life from 10 years old onwards. And I always knew there was something more to life. There was something out there that I knew was there, but I couldn't touch it or feel it yet.
Yeah.
I used to write in journals about energy and all this beautiful stuff. And then it was like society around me was like, no, it's 9 to 5, it's this. And I felt so confined, like I didn't know how to get out. So it was like suicide was just the option to break free.
Totally.
And so a friend of mine recently, you do this?
Yeah, I guess.
Because it's raining.
It's raining now.
Thank you. Aho.
Thank you, Rain.
Gracias. So what ended up happening was a friend of mine who I used to teach tennis to was like, brother, I feel like you need to go find yourself, man, like big time. Like Costa Rica, Pura Vida. And I was like, what does that mean? He's like, pure life. And I was like, oh, wow, that sounds amazing. And so it gave me this idea of like, oh my God, I just got to get out and figure it out. Otherwise, I'm really going to just like kill myself.
Mm.
I'm surprised I lost it to 25. Extremely surprised. And so when I came to Costa Rica, then I had to fend for myself. I had to figure life out. I had to learn the culture. I had to learn the language from scratch. I didn't even know they spoke Spanish here. I completely spaced out. It was hilarious. Getting picked up from the airport, and the guy's like, "Ma, ¿dónde vas?" And I'm like, "Oh my God,
What did you think? They just spoke English or
dude,
something? Or
no, I didn't
you
really.
just didn't even think about
I
it?
tend not to think about things.
Yeah,
I just do,
yeah,
which is a double-edged sword,
yeah.
And so it's, often I just do things and I get into things easily,
Uh-huh.
but I don't pre-think it.
Yeah.
And so that was a very unique time of just like what's going on and all this stuff. And so I started to just naturally have these like this awakening that about a half a year to a year in, I was like, something's, oh my God, it's like I'm coming back to when I was a child. I was right as a child all along, you know. And that was such a beautiful remembrance of like, oh, I'm just coming back home. I'm not going anywhere else.
Mm.
And so as I'm going through this, my brother Hawk, he was like, okay, brother, you got to read these books. I'll teach you some meditation, breath work, some Kundalini practices. And so I just went full on.
Wow.
I was demolishing books. My whole back wall was covered in mantras, exercises. And so I was, eating books left and right. I was just doing everything.
Yeah.
And then I did an ayahuasca ceremony.
Ayahuasca.
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 Ayahuasca. I think your mic's off. So basically what ended up happening was we did this, Santo Daime tradition of ayahuasca, which is part of the Santo Daime Church in Brazil, which Carioca had brought up to this region with Pachamama. And so we sat, it's like 150 people, women on one side, men on one side, and we sing this kind of Christian based things, right? And I remember just being like, oh my God, I have so much reverence for land, nature, everything. And I like sharing. And so it was just incredible, man. Just this level of like reverence I've had for nature now, and gratitude, and the level of like, oh wow, I'm really part of the nature. And we're all part of this network.
Yeah.
And so from there, it just started sparking my natural like want to take more information in and learn. And so I always liked to have men who were teaching me, always. And so I started kind of like a bit of a men's group where like randomly, before I even knew what a men's group was, I was like, hey, let's just meet as like bros and like figure it out.
Nice.
And so it wasn't until I met Patrick who was like, okay, so this is how you actually run a circle. You check in, you do a 3-minute share, no one says anything, kind of like very masculine structure. And that I learned a couple of years later. And so, my process through men's work, I originally started kind of more in women's work. And so I had a retreat company, Vibrant Moving Retreats, with a friend of mine, Tanya. And she saw how naturally I got along with women. Women felt very safe. They could open up to me without judgment. And so she's like, hey, you want to do retreats together? And prior to that, I was doing like health and wellness retreats. And so I was always into like fitness, health, and wellness, always. And kind of like coaching a little bit. And a friend of mine was like, hey, you kind of like a life coach. And I'm like, what the hell is a life coach? And so I researched what a life coach was, took a course, and then just started coaching people. And this is after I was doing like online, like what was it called?
Fitness.
Online fitness, which I kind of randomly started because the clients that I used to do a juice retreats with would go and they'd be like, hey, how can we continue with this? I'm like, why don't we try Skype? Yeah. And so I was training Skype before like a lot of this started. And
Nice.
so figuring it out and like jumping and screaming at the computer and
So you were like a life coach and a fitness guru before
dude,
it
totally.
really took off.
And I just and then I was doing like retreats, and then I got into these kind of more feminine retreats. So
Mm-hmm.
we'd bring women down, that were like between 30 and 60, that kind of the kids have left,
Mm.
and now they're like, okay, who am I? What am I doing?
Yeah.
And all of this stuff starts coming up.
Mm.
And so we had huge move and shifts with these women very quickly, where it was like this young masculine that was holding space for them to feel safe and to trust men again, to get their point of view, to understand what a safe container looks like, so they can just surrender and open.
Mm.
And we were having huge shifts very, very quickly. Like day two, women were like losing their marbles
Mm.
in like a great way.
Yeah.
It's like, oh my God, I'm getting divorced. I'm changing my name. Let's go, in a good way.
Yeah.
And we were like, okay, let's just like slow down a little. And so we realized, okay, we got to spend a couple days just of integration,
Yeah.
you know, like midway.
Yeah.
And so I did that for a little bit, and then it gave me a beautiful aspect of understanding women and like what they're going through,
Mm.
and like the level of unsafety they
Mm.
consistently feel,
Yeah.
which as men we don't understand. And so always got me curious of like what men and women are going through. And so it was like this protectorate of like what women are going through, and really feeling into that deep feminine of like this level of like fluidity and unsafety and the beauty as well. And so from there it's like it sparked into more stages of what got me into men's work was more going through my own things. I was one of many things, was I went through a stage of like premature ejaculation, which was mainly like performance anxiety, is what it is basically,
Yeah.
um, as you know. And so I remember I used to have one night stands, and then I was dating at the time in an open relationship, very new. No one, I didn't know anything about this. We kind of were figuring it out, and this is one of my partners that I had from Samara that I moved to here with. Dated for about 4 years, and so we're like, let's open it up, like see how we can like regain some sexual chemistry again. And so I'm like, oh my God, does this mean I'm like free to do what I want? I love women so much. Oh my God, it's overwhelming
Yeah.
because I just love women in general.
Yeah.
And so I was just like having one night stands left and right, and then going back to my woman and like still having sex, and I was just like, maybe something feels off.
Mm.
And so I tried to have sex with a woman, and I wasn't getting hard, and this happened a few more times, and I was like, oh my God, like what's going on?
Yeah.
I was freaking out because this was like my masculinity is being attacked.
Yeah.
And I felt like, who am I if I can't procreate?
Yeah.
Or have sex or get hard?
Yeah.
And so I dealt with this for about a year and a half of shame, guilt, sadness. I would try hook up with as many women as I can, not have sex, and be like, hey, I'm here to please you.
Yeah.
Um, because at least that will give me some meaning in my life.
Totally. Yeah.
And I was like, and they're like, can I? And I'm like, no, I'm good. And so there was this level of service, but also this level of guilt, and grief, of like, what am I doing if I can't even have sex with these women? Like, I can't even get hard. And so I just saw a couple of online things about like really getting over this. And so one big thing in helping men get through this was really having a conversation with the person you're making love with. And it's uncomfortable as shit.
Yeah.
But more than retention, breath work, more than any of that, it's getting over the hump and the fear.
Yeah.
So it was like I would, be with women. I'd be like, hey, I just want you to know I'm just going through something right now. It's causing me a lot of anxiety and fear. I just want to let you know that, it's not you that this is happening about. It's a process I'm going through. And, 99% of the time they were like, wow, that's like really amazing. Thank you for letting me know.
Yeah.
And, it really just eased off. And something I realized moving through all of this was, wow, I crave and I desire and I need a lot of safety.
Speak on it.
So I'm gonna dive more into that.
Yeah.
Safety for men is massive.
Yeah.
just as women need to feel as safe,
Right.
we need to feel just as safe.
Totally.
And so that was like part again of like, okay, I'm getting to this like sexual exploration of like, who am I? I'm retaining, I'm speaking all my insecurities, my vulnerabilities to women.
Mm-hmm.
I stopped having sex. I was celibate for about 6 months while I was working on this. And so I built this deep level of trust and relationship with the feminine of like, hey guys, listen, I'm celibate right now, and I'm open to cuddling and like massages and really getting to know you and enjoy life, and but I can't do this. And so that really helped me build a level of, oh, if I'm connecting with someone, I got to feel super safe in my body for my cock to work. Because I don't want to. I tried Viagra. I tried the other one. I was with this extremely gorgeous Swiss girl on the beach. I took like fucking 5 Cialis, and I'm like, okay, I remember going to the pharmacy and I'm like, hey, can I have Cialis? It's for my friend. I don't know why he needs it. Dude, totally. And I'm like, and they're like, I'm sure. Here we go.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I don't even know why I'm getting this. And I'm like on the beach, this gorgeous woman.
Yeah.
Oh my god. And I'm like I took like 3 or 4. I think 4 Cialis. Nothing worked.
Wow.
Nothing.
Wow.
Because you need stimulation for the blood to go there. It doesn't mean you're getting a hard cock by taking Viagra.
Right.
You need stimulation, which aids blood flow.
Right.
It doesn't not, and I was like, oh my god, I'm so insecure right now. What do I do? And I went through the I'm gonna please you and just I'm good.
Yeah.
And so that was a big turning point of like, fuck this noise.
Yeah.
I am now taking charge. I'm gonna be celibate. I'm gonna work on this, and I'm gonna build intimacy with myself. And when I have a connection, I'm going to build intimacy with that person.
So going back to the safety that men need to feel safe in order to perform, is this, I know it's a two-way street, but is this safety that you cultivate for yourself? Is that or is it they need to do something in order for you to feel safe, or is it both?
So there was a part where, for instance, what I felt, I was much more comfortable if I would get naked and the woman would see me naked. She would see my cock and I would feel okay. And so that was a little trick I had that would just build my own safety initially, of like, if I'm naked, she can see my body. I don't want her to see me and I have a small cock where I'm like freaking out and my cock gets smaller. And so it was a bit of a trick for me to be like, if I can get naked with her and we back at my place or her place, and we can just cuddle together and build that, touch on touch. And she could feel me naked, she could see me naked, and then I could get hard slowly, and then it would just build a bit of my safety. So that was like a bit of a trick for me to just feel into my body a little bit more, and just be like, oh, well, she can see me, so it's there. It's not like, oh, clothes are coming off, you got to be hard now, bro.
Right.
So it was a way for me to just preempt that. But the safety eventually is like, I knew how to build my own safety then, by going slow, by building emotional intimacy, by caring,
by building emotional intimacy in that moment with that person. Okay.
And so, a lot of the pre-work came from like, if I needed to have the conversation, I would have the conversation.
What conversation?
Of, hey, this is a process I'm going through. This is what I'm going through. This is where I'm at. I would do my retaining. I would, retaining my semen. I would not be having sex. I would do like cock massages. I would do a lot of like tools that would just get me into my body. So breathing obviously is a way to just let go of the pelvic floor a little bit more, and not like tighten up, because then you're just like cutting off any circulation. And so it was a way for me to just understand through the tools, through the conversations of like, okay, I crave and desire a lot of safety in my body. Now I have the tools and the ability to communicate what's going on. So I know I've got this. And then with the connection with the person, I can't just have sex with this woman straight away. I can't just do one night stands. I got to have intimacy with her first. I've got to have a couple times of like us connecting and kissing and really building safety with that interaction.
Mm-hmm.
Also, it creates safety with her because we're going slow.
Yeah.
It also creates safety when I communicate where I'm at,
Right.
because she's like, okay, you're honest with me. I trust you.
Yeah.
So the more honesty you have with a woman, the more she can trust where you're coming from. So you're
Right.
naturally just building this safe container.
Yeah.
So they would naturally feel safer.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, this guy's, he's got safety in himself.
Yes.
He knows how to hold that space. He knows how to communicate. He
Mm.
knows how to create the space of like,
Yeah.
okay, so he's safe, so therefore I feel safe.
Yeah. And then she reflects that back
And
to
she
you.
reflects it back to me. So
Yeah.
it's a
Beautiful.
two-way street.
Yeah.
And then I had, a lot of women say, wow, I feel really safe with you.
Yeah.
In your arms, I feel safe around you. And because it was like the more honest I can be in the moment,
Yeah.
the more safe I felt.
Yeah.
And therefore the more safe they felt.
Yeah.
Like, hey, this is kind of where I'm at. It's my desire.
Yeah.
It's my feeling. This is what I'm craving.
Yeah. It's amazing because it's like safety isn't about being perfect.
No.
It's about just really being authentic.
Yeah.
That is like feeling feelings, expressing feelings, desires, wants, all of it.
Totally.
And it's like, yeah.
And I also like to say as well, on these topics of when we do work in the space,
Yeah.
men's work, like we're also part of the human experience.
Mm.
And so we make mistakes. And when we're
Yep.
going through it, we don't communicate well. And
Yeah.
when we're, we fuck up or we make mistakes and we do these things. And
Right.
so there's like, this is a process.
Yeah.
It's
Sure.
not like, oh, I do this and now I'm this perfect fucking everything.
Yeah.
And so I often always remind and communicate of
Mhm.
like, I'm still human,
Mm-hmm.
unapologetically human. And so this was a process. And, there was a time in which I was like, oh, wow, I can just now have sex and make love and I feel good in my body.
Nice.
And my body's just working.
Yeah.
Just works.
Beautiful. I'm so glad. I'm so happy to hear like your whole story and how you moved through that period of life and how you took radical responsibility for your experience by being celibate and tuning into your body. And yeah, it's just like a beautiful journey of the masculine to come into your power, because we all face challenges. We all face ups and downs, and it's about how can we move through this? How can we work through it? And you did it in a really beautiful way. And thanks for sharing that.
Absolutely, brother.
And thank you for sharing that with any of the men that are watching, because I mean, there's so many men out there that struggle with different forms of performance issues, whether it's premature ejaculation or erectile dysfunction.
Yeah, I really don't like that word.
Yeah. Erectile.
You don't have
pause.
erectile dysfunction.
Yeah.
FYI. Whatever fucking doctor tells you that, he has no idea what he's talking about.
Right.
It's this, and just to like aid on that, like porn-induced erectile dysfunction
Totally.
is huge now
Mm-hmm.
because of, for our listeners, that when you have, so many, what do we call it, bed sitters of like videos and people and stimulation, that if you don't get that amount of stimulation with one person, there's no way you're going to have enough turn on to get hard. And then that's where the performance anxiety hits you.
Yeah.
And so it goes from 1 or 2 episodes to, oh shit, this is something that's happening.
Yeah. Oh shit.
Oh shit is right.
Yeah. So if you have anything like this, both Kyle and I work with men in this way. I have a course, Master Your Fuck, and Kyle has. We'll get to more details, but I just wanted to plug that in really quick. Kyle helps men with these kind of issues. And it's beautiful because he's been there, and so have I. So it's beautiful that there's teachers out there that know what it's like to actually experience these things, because there are some teachers out there that are like, trying, and women, for example, that try to teach men how to last longer in bed, And to me, there's like a disconnect between an embodied teacher and someone who's not. So I really value someone like you who's honest about what you've experienced in life and like, yep, I've been here, I've walked this path just like you. Here's how you can, step forward.
Amen, brother. Amen.
Yeah. So I want to talk about the retreat you've got coming up.
Yeah.
The Resiliency Project
Yes,
retreat. May, what is it?
24th to the 31st.
May 24th to the 31st here in Osara.
Mm-hmm.
And can you just, because I heard from Patrick, we talked with Patrick about it.
Yeah.
And I just want to hear about what you have to say about the Resiliency Project retreat. And I don't want to go into like the logistics.
Yeah.
I want to really focus on the why.
I'll give you the why.
And your why.
I'll give you the why, which is bigger than the retreat.
Yeah.
So a retreat is a retreat. It's a way to have people have a big shift very quickly, get into men's work like A to Z, learn how to express what's coming up, have men hold you in that space, feel safe enough to be hyper vulnerable and really let go of all the things that you've been through. A lot of men have been through a lot of sexual trauma. And so we create a safe enough space with using tools of really going in, understanding how to listen, but also communicate what's going on.
Yeah.
And so, we provide the fundamentals, I would say, which is, I'd say the why and why we are doing this men's work, because we also hold the men's community circle. And my why behind this is to have as many men join a circle as possible to go consistently enough to feel safe enough to open up. That's it. In my opinion, like, men's circles are the fundamentals of any work you do as a man.
Yeah.
End of story. Everything else is just sharpening the sword and sharpening the arrow. So that's my why. Of course, these men are going to go through such a shift, and they're going to, expand like a ripple effect. Yeah. Having such a strong container of, holding their kids more attunely and more present with their wives, and really going back into their community, and their community actually feeling them, feeling their presence, feeling their solid masculinity, their discernment, their clarity. And I always say, it's like when someone does work, there's a 10-person ripple effect.
Yeah.
Of their immediate people who are like, oh wow, I'm feeling something. So you're affecting them immediately. So for me, when I do that, it's like, well, if we can get 100 or 1,000 men doing some form of men's work, even just the group stuff, that's 10,000 people that are affected by that. You know what I mean?
Totally.
And so it's big.
Mm-hmm.
It's big. And so that's the bigger picture, and that's a bigger why, where it's like, hey, are you going through something? Oh, guess what? You're feeling suicidal? Brother, come to Circle. I've got you.
Yeah. So why is it, because you keep mentioning like opening up, sharing, vulnerability. Why is that so important for men to do?
To know that you are seen and heard in that space by other men who can relate to what you're going through.
Yeah.
Because this, when you're in it, you feel isolated.
Yeah.
And so we say, when you're a man who's going through something, you don't necessarily, or you haven't developed or gotten the tools to be able to express, let go, reach out to a brother or anyone and say, hey, I'm going through something, I need support.
Yeah.
As recently as you were going through something, if I might briefly share, you wanted to isolate.
Yeah.
Right? And now imagine going, wow, I'm going through something. I want to isolate. I want a lone wolf. But, I can reach out to someone who understands what I'm going through.
Yeah.
Because he's gone through it. Yeah. So he knows where I am.
Yeah.
Or I can do it in circle.
Yeah.
And most men will be like, brother, I've been there.
Yeah.
I know what you're going through. And so to be seen and heard in that and be like, oh, Jesus Christ, I thought I was alone.
Yeah.
When I had my cock problem, I love you, I adore you. Cock. What do they call it? It's not a Bob Ross thing. Happy. No, it's not a mistake. It's just a happy accident. I don't know why that resonated there, but you know, and that's the thing. Is it's like you have this ability to share your story with men,
Yeah.
and then feel seen. Because I thought I was alone with my cock thing.
Yeah.
You know, maybe 3 guys in the world had it.
Yeah.
And then I'm like,
totally.
oh shit, like 80% of men actually
Right.
have it.
Yes.
And so
Yeah.
when you do that, oh my God, I'm actually not alone.
Yeah.
Oh, and I can meet once a week in a circle and be like, you know, have my boys check in and be like, hey brother, so that thing you were going through,
Yeah.
how are you?
Yeah.
Do you need support?
Yeah.
I don't want to fix you.
Yeah.
Do you need support?
Yeah.
And yeah, maybe a check in. Maybe a check in, brother. Thank you. And so that's the fundamentals of my why. Is I'm tired of watching men dying and falling and like how much are they holding? You know, their hearts, everything is just, it's too much.
Yeah.
You know, and so men's circles, man, it's a fucking quick fix.
Yeah.
In my opinion.
Yeah.
And experience.
It's like letting the weight off.
Yeah.
It's like just giving it, taking it out of your body and letting it be held by other men. And at the very least, just releasing it out of your body so that you don't have to hold it alone inside anymore.
And fuck this alone bullshit.
Yeah.
You know, this like biohacking bullshit where it's like you're trying to crush getting spiritual and all this type of shit and like you know, breath work, you have to win it, and it's not about winning. Please, Jesus, Jesus Santa Cristo. It's, you know, being able to share and have your brothers hold your heart with you. Have them on your back. Be like, I got you, brother. I'm not going anywhere. We're in this together. You know, that's community, that's brotherhood, man. And so that's the fundamentals of my why. You know, that's why I do this. The retreats are just a tip of the arrow of sharpening the skill set.
Yeah.
You know, so men are going back with, you know, many more tools in the tool bag, so to speak. A lot of the men go back and actually start men's circles themselves without us even saying do it.
Yeah.
They're like, hey, I actually started, you know, doing the 3-word drop-in shares and stuff with the men, and we meet once a week, and we're like, we just minyaged you. You're welcome.
Amazing.
And so that's the whole idea, is a wax on, wax off effect, right? You do it enough. We check in multiple times a day. We do multiple shares a day, you know, like, and so the men get used to like, okay, what's here for me?
Yeah.
What's my 3 words right now?
Yeah. And really just like tuning in to that for themselves, just bringing this awareness into your lived experience of like the emotions that you're feeling, the state that you're in, and you know how to navigate in a conscious way rather than just I'm feeling bad and I don't know what to do about it or what to say or do.
It's okay to feel bad.
It's okay to feel bad.
You know, and so that's what it is. It's like the 3-word check-in that we do all the time. You have a variety of emotions. And so you're honoring those emotions that are current with you right now. So the 3 words might be like anxious, irritated,
turned on. Yeah.
And then at the end of your share, you might be like relieved.
Yes.
Safe. Relaxed.
Connected.
Because you're like, oh wow. So just me sharing, let my fucking nervous system completely relax.
Yeah. Amazing. Yeah. I mean, I attend the men's circle here in Nosara, and it's been really great to just have that consistency, you know, and I held a men's circle in Sedona, and you know, I really kind of distanced myself and I feel like it's beautiful how you guys hold it. I was in a different place in my journey when I was holding it, but I was like, I'm the leader, and I didn't really share much, you know, and so I really feel like this is a true men's circle here where we're all sharing. There's a couple guys that are keeping time and facilitating, but like we're all here together in community, and that really feels just ancient, you know.
I think that's, on that, like, when you're doing a retreat or when I'm doing a retreat, yeah, that's part of this, like, I'm facilitating,
Yeah,
and I gotta kind of hold a little bit of that for sure.
for sure.
And this part of this, like, we also on the same exact fucking journey, bro.
Yeah,
I'm going to cry, I'm gonna release, I'm gonna do my shit, I'm gonna tell you about my most vulnerable shit as well.
yeah,
And so there's not like, oh, but you go through this, but you do men's right.
yeah.
Like, no, 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 no.
That's leadership.
That's leadership. Is
It's
full
showing
vulnerability.
full vulnerability and like showing the men what it looks like, and also showing them that being vulnerable doesn't make you weak.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, because he's vulnerable, he can't be the leader. No, it's like, no, we're vulnerable and we lead. That's,
Yeah, dude.
you know,
Well, it's a mixture. So this is what I think. Vulnerability is amazing because your men can hold your vulnerability, which means you can be as vulnerable as you fucking want.
Yeah,
And lose your shit, and your men can hold you.
yeah,
That's the point.
yeah,
Vulnerability in a relationship comes with a double-edged sword.
yep, for sure.
So, you know, what I also coach is when men are, because women are like, just be vulnerable, show me. They do not want all
They
of
don't
your
actually
vulnerability.
want
They're
that.
not meant to hold
Right.
all of your vulnerability either.
Yeah,
They want to know that you can express your vulnerability,
yeah,
but you've got to check on it.
yeah,
That means like, hey baby, I'm feeling super fucking insecure right now, but I'm gonna go do some of my tools and take some space, and I'm gonna go check in with my men, and
yeah,
I'm gonna come back, but this is just something that I'm really feeling right now.
yeah.
And so you notice how I do that.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, oh my god, baby, I'm feeling so vulnerable, and you want to cheat, and oh my god, I feel like this, and hold me right now. And she's gonna be like, dude, I'm not your mother.
Right.
So the sexual polarity is like, babe, this is where I'm at with my vulnerability, but understand how I'm presenting it to you. Of course I want you to hold me, but know that I've got it. Know that I meet with my men once a week, and I go full on with them. Or I have my own process and I go full on with that. And so there's that like double-edged sword of like, vulnerability is amazing, it's key, but
In
the
the
woman
right
is not
context.
meant to hold all of it.
Yeah, right. She doesn't want to.
No, she doesn't want
She can't.
She wants to fucking relax and surrender, man.
Right.
The woman does not want to lead.
Right.
I'd like to say that again, and I'm going to generalize this. Women do not want to lead. Ever. In relationship.
Yeah.
They want to surrender. They want to know, like, man is holding it, or their partner is holding it down. And it's not about the money. It's just about like this idea that, cool, my man's opening the door. Often I see men with a woman and they're like getting on a boat and they're not giving their hands to the woman, and they're not like, hey babe, here's a seat for you. Oh, it's raining, take my coat. Like, guys, start showing up more. And yes, women do want that. Actually,
for sure.
So step 100%. Into that role so they can actually like surrender, knowing that you have the container, you got it, you're solid.
Yes, that was a beautiful message, and so true. And I feel like that is something that, as men and women, we're really starting to remember, and really having to course correct, because for a long time it's been, women have been needing to be in their masculine, and I don't think it's anybody's fault. It's just kind of like what has happened. And so men are learning how to step into their power and into their leadership, and women are learning how to trust again and to surrender. And it's like this dance that we're doing to
swing always,
the pendulum.
Okay, come baby, come.
So yeah, I think that's a beautiful note to did you have anything else you wanted to say on that?
I did this polarity kind of workshop with some friends of mine. She was hosting a women's retreat, and this is just to like echo what you were saying about the woman. Is I had them doing this polarity thing where it's like, okay, there's a pole between the one woman and the other, and one had to be the masculine, which was push and lead, and the other one had to just receive wherever she wanted to go. And all of the women would lead easily, but to like surrender and receive, they were like, oh my god, I don't know how to do this. And so I was like, okay, let's go into that. Why? Well, because I'm fucking have 3 children and a business, and my man isn't stepping up and helping lead. So I'm naturally just leading. And so a lot of these women, in such a beautiful way, they were kind of crying. They're like, oh my god, I don't know how to receive, because they've had to be on all this time, keeping your fucking kids alive, schooling. As we know, women can take on so much and do so much, and so a lot of these amazing women have just stepped into this like leadership position, because unfortunately the man is not in his leadership, and therefore he's the receiver. And so these women are just like tired, man. They're tired, they're angry, you know, and definitely wanting the man to take the mantle, and that is what's starting to happen now slowly. But so just giving it up for all of the women that are in your masculine. That's okay, we get it.
Thank you. So thank you for coming on the podcast. And do you have a website that you want to share with everyone?
I do. KyleMitri.com.
KyleMitri.com.
And the Resiliency Project.me. And that's the retreat website.
And what are the program offerings that you have for you individually?
For sure. So you can also follow me on Instagram, which is at Kyle.Mitri. And I've got just a bunch of content up there that I'm going to start doing a little bit more on, thanks to you as well. So I have a program that I run. It's called the Kings and Warriors Mastery Program, and I run it over 3 months. And you know, I know this has been burnt out a bit, but I do the archetypes of man, king, warrior, magician, lover. It's something I believe in as the substructure of masculinity, and how I've approached all of the things I've gone through. I match them into each archetype, and we go through this incredible kind of like stratospheric journey to basically get the man to a point where he's like, oh my god, I know what I want to do with my life, and I have a roadmap. Whether it's spiritual, whether it's a business that he's always wanted to do, we come out and have purpose.
Great. And you do, that's your one-on-one container?
That's a group container.
Group container.
But my one-on-one container, which I absolutely love, I have a certain amount of spots that I take on for one-on-ones.
Limited spaces.
And I don't want to say limited spaces to create the lack.
The lack is just naturally
there. And I love one-on-ones, and the level of depth that we go in through that is, honestly, one-on-ones are my favorite. Group coaching is awesome. That's a way to really like bridge the man and brotherhood together as well. But one-on-ones, man, I love it so much. You can just create so much depth so quickly. You know.
It's like you're their person.
Like legit.
And you can really dive in. I love that.
So I do a 3 to 6 month container. Very easy. It's very simple. And that's something I absolutely adore, is having my men one-on-one. Always.
Beautiful. Thank you for sharing. And Kyle is an amazing guy to work with, and I've leaned on him for plenty in my life, and you would be a better man for it. And if you would like to dive in deep with me, you can visit initiatedman.com. I offer one-on-one containers as well as 2 courses. One is called Master Your Fuck, and helps you last longer in bed and control your sexual energy. And a course called Lead Her with Love, which is self-explanatory, leading your woman with love in and out of the bedroom. So thank you, Kyle, for joining me. It's been an honor, and I look forward to doing it again.
Love you, brother.
Love you too. Okay. Peace.
And chicken.